about to be 4th of July, and this one, of course, is going to be kind of special to us, 250 years. But for the Frasollieri family, 4th of July has a little bit different meaning. See, they're not Americans. They were born in Albania. And Albania at the time was not a great place to live. It was under a pretty brutalistic communist dictatorship, and basically living conditions was horrible. Almost everything was illegal, including trying to leave. Now, the father here, Barjam, I believe that's how you say his name, that's how I'm going to say it, but he decided that he wanted to get his family out of this horrible, horrible country. You see, his father, sometime in the decades before this, he left, but he left on his own. And when he left behind his wife and the remainder of his family, they were very much persecuted. She was sent to a forced labor camp for a while. And basically, his kids were never allowed to go to school. There's all kind of penalties for him having left. Barjam grew up with this and this kind of thing hanging over his head. His father wound up all the way in Australia where he sought political asylum. And every once in a while they would get a postcard. And it would have pictures from Australia on it. And that's all that he had of his father. He dreamt night and day of getting out of that place. One time he made a mistake. He told a friend about his plans. But it turns out his friend was a spy for the government, and he wound up spending 10 years in prison before he was able to get out again. When he got out, he was serious. I'm out. I'm leaving. But it didn't happen overnight. For the next 4 years, he would plot and scheme. He would go and take walks. He learned the security patrols. He learned their habits. He learned the best time of year when the guards and the defenses were the lowest. And on July 3rd, 1975, it was time for them to make their escape. They began to get ready about 8 o'clock that afternoon. And about midnight, they were ready to set out. And from midnight till 8 a.m., about 8 hours, it took him and his family to escape. Now, this is his immediate family, but what's not shown in the picture is when they began to escape, he talked to his mother, and his mother said, "Listen, you do not want to leave family behind here. I have been through that. If you're going to leave, you got to take us all." It'd be one thing to get your wife and a couple kids out, but in all, that night, 16 members of Barjam's family escaped Albania. You imagine we can't hardly get 16 people scheduled to have Thanksgiving together at the same time, let alone get them out of a country that would literally almost shoot you on sight if you were caught trying to leave. But they did it. July 4th was their Independence Day, 1975. But you see, the thing is, I haven't told you yet how they escaped. How they escaped is even more amazing than the fact that they escaped at all. This right here, what you're seeing kind of laid up on its side, is how they escaped. Barjam took and went and cut down several small trees, and he began to collect supplies. And the night of the escape, of course, it's one of these things you can't just like have this out back in your workshop and be building on it over the course of time, right? You kind of have to do it in bits and pieces and hide things because there's spies everywhere. But what you're looking at is a boat. That night, beginning at 8 o'clock, they gathered all the pieces together, wood and a few 2x4s and various strips and bits, and they lashed it together with some wire that he had found. But now here's the cool part. The outside skin of that boat is made out of a waterproof tablecloth. A 13-foot long waterproof tablecloth. 16 people escaped to their freedom using a 13-foot tablecloth. Bargem and the other boys on the raft that were old enough to paddled for 8 hours to get his family to safety. And as amazing as this isn't the first time that a father has floated his family to safety. You probably know where I'm going, don't you? Good old Noah built a boat like God told him to. This morning, the story really isn't the ark or the animals or the 2x2. This morning, I want us to think about Noah, the father that he was, but more than that, I want us to think about God and his connection to Noah, and Noah and his connection to his family. And I want us to see how all those things relate. Because when we think about this life and the roles that God has given human beings to play, yes, mothers have an important role in the family. We talked about that a month ago. But fathers also play an important role in a family that God has ordained. And this morning we want to use Noah to notice some things about fathers, godly fathers, that I believe can help each and every one of us. So that being said, we're going to begin. We're going to go to Genesis 6 here in a moment, but we're going to notice a few other passages about Noah in the New Testament. We're going to notice to start with that Noah received a warning. Hebrews 11:7, by faith Noah, being warned by God concerning events as yet unseen, in reverent fear constructed an ark for the saving of his household. By this he condemned the world and became an heir of the righteousness that comes by faith. You see, God warned Noah, and Noah also what? Warned his family. God warned Noah, and Noah warned his family. In fact, Noah tried to warn everyone on the whole entire earth. That didn't really work real well. Nobody wanted to listen. Some people think, well, he preached and built a boat for 120 years, and he didn't get anybody on the boat. He got his family on the boat, and we know some of the family members that we have. Sometimes getting them, like I say, getting them all together for Thanksgiving is hard enough, let alone trying to get them all on a boat to save them. You think about that. We're not building a boat. We're not fighting a global flood. But fathers, are we not trying to warn our families? Now, I get it. Technology changes. Things change. But people have always just been people. I know a guy that he's in almost his 80s now, and he said, I remember the day that my son walked into my shop and looked at me, and the exact words out of his mouth was, you're not as dumb as I always thought you were. You see, dads are not perfect. Noah wasn't perfect. You can keep reading, and after they get back off the ark, there's a scene where Noah's going to get drunk, and wasn't perfect. But God gave him a warning, and he didn't ignore the warning. He told everyone he could about the warning, including his family. You see, Dad knows something about how the world works, how people work. And, you know, we tell our children growing up, hey, don't do this, don't do that, you're going to burn your hand, you know. And sometimes they're going to do it anyway. Sometimes they're going to reach out and they're going to touch the hot thing or whatever it is. And I guarantee you, at least once in your life, you're going to look at them and be like, I tried to tell you. I tried to tell you. But physical warnings are one thing. Spiritual warnings. Spiritual warnings are where it's really most critical. God told Noah exactly what's going to happen. Right? Genesis 6:17, for behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall die. Can you imagine? You get up one morning, you're going about your business, and God says, Noah, yeah, what's up? I'm going to destroy the whole world. Oh, I didn't have it on my calendar for today. But when the news came, he got to work. And because of it, he was able to help save his family. God warned him so he could warn them. Now, Let's back up a little bit. God taught Noah some things, didn't he? Genesis 6 and 13. God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood, and make rooms inside the ark, and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you are to make it. Its length of the ark is 300 cubits, and its breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Make a roof for the ark to finish it to a cubit above, and set the door of the ark inside, and make it with its lower and second and third decks. So God told Noah how to build a boat. It never rained on the earth before. He gave him various specifics on how to build this boat. But that wasn't the only thing God taught Noah about, was it? Look at 2 Peter 2. For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment, if he did not spare the ancient world, but preserved Noah, a herald of righteousness, with 7 others, when he brought a flood upon the world of the ungodly. Some translations say a preacher of righteousness. Noah was not only taught by God how to build a boat, he was taught in spiritual things. Why did God teach Noah spiritual things? So that he could share them. We done mentioned that nobody else got on the boat but his family. We know that he was a preacher of righteousness. He preached to the entire world. He warned them for 120 years. Text doesn't tell us this, but do you think his family ever heard any of those lessons? Do you think if he spent all his time teaching and building a boat that he ever taught his kids anything? Taught his family? I'm just willing to bet he did. I'm willing to bet that somewhere along the way that he said something that convinced his family to get on a boat. God taught him so he could teach them. Fathers, what are we doing today? Are we not trying to do the very same thing? If we try to walk in the light as he is in the light, what do we want for our family? We want the same thing. John would say in 1 John, around chapter 3, my little children. John looked at those people, even though they were not his flesh and blood, he looked at them as his spiritual children. What do we not want for our children if we don't want them to go to heaven? To be with God? You know, fathers, we have a lot of failings. I think about David and Solomon. David wanted to build the temple, and God wouldn't let him build it. He said, you're a man of blood. But his son was able to build that temple that God wanted. David laid the groundwork. David raised up Solomon. David had all of these preparations made. He had the plans literally drawn up. He handed his son a platform off of which he could build. Fathers, do we not do the same thing? Is not our lives a platform for which the rest of our families can spring and grow? I understand that our children have their own minds, trust me, I do. That they may choose to go one way or the other, I understand that, but there is no mistaking the influence of a godly father has on a family. Think about the Travis Tritt song, Where Corn Don't Grow. Like he wanted to do the opposite of what his daddy did, but this whole song is about him remembering what? Daddy was right. Daddy was right. The influence of a father is an incredibly powerful thing. Now, we'll go a little further. We look at Genesis 7:1. Then the Lord said to Noah, go into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of all the clean animals, the male and his mate, a pair of animals that are not clean, the male and his mate, and 7 pairs of the birds of heaven also, male and female, to keep their offspring alive on the face of the earth. For in 7 days I will send rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing that I have made I will blot out from the face of the ground. And Noah did all that the Lord had commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters came upon the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons and sons' wives went with him into the ark to escape the waters of the flood, of the clean animals and the animals that are not clean, of the birds and everything that creeps on the ground. 2 by 2, male and female, went into the ark with Noah as God had commanded Noah. And after 7 days, the water of the flood came upon the earth. I'm still just flabbergasted that his family went with him. I mean, you know that everybody had to think he was nuts. But here's something else I know. This was no small project. We learn in other places in the Bible, 120 years that he built this boat. Can you imagine coming home the first night after you've had the vision and be like, hey, God wants me to build a boat. And everybody's like, yeah, Dad, great. We'll see. When did it become real to them? When he started to build. You know, the old saying is there's a lot more ever caught than taught. Because the things that are important to us, those are the things that we do. I don't know how crazy they thought he was at the beginning, but I knew that it didn't take very long into this process for them to figure out what? Dad's serious. He may have taught them a great number of lessons by never opening his mouth, but getting up when he was tired and when he didn't feel good and when he had a sinus infection, and he went back out and he went about the work that God had planned for him to do. God had him work so he could lead them. We talked about the example of a powerful father, right? They get up and, you know, you've heard people talk about at funerals that, you know, Dad was in the tractor and he was doing all these things up until the very end. And you think about the work ethic. How do you teach work ethic? Can you teach it out of a book? Can you sit in a classroom 8 hours a day and learn work ethic? No. Somebody's got to show you. Somebody's got to show you. We was mowing the yard yesterday, and Netta said, you know, I really don't want to weed eat. And I was like, well, let's get Colin to weed eat. And in the process, you know, I keep hearing the weed eater going zoom, 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 zoom. And I went out there and I'm like, Colin, what are you doing? And he's like, well, Dad, it throws stuff at me. I know, son, but sometimes in life you just got to take it. You got to hold the button down and go on with it. Right? Somebody had to teach me that. Somebody had to show me that. That's why God made a mother and a father in a home. Because they're both different and they're both needed. They need to see both working and loving and operating so that they know what a healthy home is for them to raise their children. God had him work so that he could lead them. But now lastly, here's one more. And this is the point that led me to this whole entire lesson. And I'll share with you the title of this lesson when we get to the end here. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day all the foundations of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain fell upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And the very same day Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and their 3 wives of their sons with them entered the ark. They and every beast according to its kind, and all the livestock according to their kind, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth according to its kind, and every bird according to its kind, and every winged creature. Did you get the fact that they're all on the boat? They went into the ark with Noah, 2 by 2, and all flesh, at which there was breath of life. And those that entered, male and female, all flesh, went in as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. You notice that? Now, some translations will say God shut them in, but in the original language, the word here is singular. They were all on the boat. Yes, I understand that. But it says that God shut him in. Why does it say that? Because God was leading Noah and Noah was leading his family. You go back in Genesis 6, the whole entire earth is wicked, but God saw Noah, and Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord because of who Noah was. I know they all made their own decisions. I know very well that they could have looked at him and said, Dad, you're crazy. We're not doing this. Right? I'm not saying he saved them, but I am saying that he influenced them. And I am saying, excuse how grammatically incorrect this is, but them are better because of him. His family is better because of who he was and what he did, what he taught them, what he got up every day and went and did. Them were better because of him. God led Noah, and Noah led his family. In reality, I think it's whatever God the Father wants to do. They want to follow God, and they want to lead their family to him. At the very end of this, we'll wrap up with this today, Genesis 9:1, and God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. I understand every person is responsible for their own actions. I get that. But God had a specific role for Noah to fill, both as a boat builder and a father. And when he did it, he enabled his family to be what God wanted them to be as well. And I don't have a better point than that today than them were better because of him. I don't know what your need is this morning. I don't know if you need to come to your Heavenly Father, if you've been struggling. But whatever you need, you can come forward. We can go to the shepherd's room. You can go out back. But we'd love to help you in any way we could this morning while we have this invitation song.